Hi there, this is JK from the Ministry of Otaku. I hope you having a good time this dystopian and catastrophic world we are in now, and especially if you've had a happy 4th of July. For those of us in the United States. And with summer, there's a new season of anime. One of them that came to my radar is how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. And from the title, you'll find out that it's an isekai, with some trappings of isekai, but there's a twist. It has elements of politics and international affairs in the trappings of a fantasy isekai comedy. And the word realist in the title is in direct reference to political realism. And from the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, political realism is a theory of political philosophy that attempts to explain, model, and prescribe political relations. And it takes its assumptions that power is or ought to be the primary end of political action, wherever in the domestic or international arena. In the domestic arena, the theory asserts that politicians do or should strive to maximize their power. While on the international stage, nation-states are seen as the primary agents that maximize or ought to maximize their power. Political realism, in essence, reduces the political ethical principle that the might is right, wherever if it's through political, military, or economic means. And this anime does have politics, but not current-day politics, but rather in political philosophy. Where the MC, the main character, gets isekai to another fantasy world, and he has to rebuild the kingdom that he is stuck in. The general theme of the Prince, which is how political realism is based from, is a 16th century book, is of accepting the aims of princes. The true aims of princes is through glory and survival can justify the use of immoral means to achieve those ends. Where the anime will see immoral methods to gain the strength of the kingdom to rebuild it remains to be seen. But let's get into the introduction episode. Already with the first episode, it starts with a flashback, with the protagonist named Kazuya Soma, a humanities student from a university, whose grandpa, before he passes away, tells him to fulfill the life script, marry and start a family, and of course get a job, so he won't die alone. That's his grandpa's reasoning why other people have families. And Soya is their lone son, since his brother and mom was lost too early. After the opening scene in the other world, the kingdom's cabinet, which we later found out is the kingdom of Elflefian, has a problem, but we don't see it, we don't hear it, but we know the solution is to summon a hero. And you know that will lead to. We see Soya reading and writing notes from the book called El Prince, which is a real book written by the 16th century which is written as a 16th century political treatise written by Italian diplomat and political theorist Niccolo Marcelli, as an instruction guide for new princes and worlds, which foreshadows what the character is. He's into politics and civil political philosophy. And again, it's a real book on political realism, which is relevant to this day. Now, to repeat, Marcelli written the book to be a handbook for rulers at the time, and it's not about the ideal republic, but rather how a ruler should govern a country, based on political philosophy, ingenuity, efficiency, manliness, foresight, valor, strength, and shrewdness. Then we see the magical priest use the hero summoning ritual, and the main character, Soma, as he was turning the book to the shelf, gets teleported to the other world. The procedure was a success, and the next thing we see Soya walking towards the king with elves, humans, and a bear guardsman on each side. Obviously, Soma does not want this, but the king, which he is called Albert, King Albert, explains the situation. He's in a supercontinent called Landia, which is a standard Dungeons and Dragons slash Dragon Quest inspired isekai setting. The forces of the Demon Lord appears and invades the land. The Grand Chaos Empire, which is one of the most powerful countries in the world of Landia, which the actual layers has been written and mentioned as Italian. Basically, it's written now. Grand Chaos Empire is written in Italian as Imperial Grand. What's it called? It's actually written as Imperial Grand Cross. Did I get that right? Yeah, Grand Chaos. Basically, Imperial Grand Chaos. It's written as Empire, and it's assuming that the world where Sawyer has been transported to speaks Italian. Apparently, the whole world speaks Italian, and due to isekai standards, due to isekai tropes, he automatically understands their language of Italian. Even though he's Japanese. Even though Sawyer is Japanese, he can able to speak Italian. Which is fitting because the book, the Tower Versus, is from Italy. Well, moving on. Honestly, moving on, the forces of the Demon Lord appears and invades the land of Landia. The Grand Chaos Empire, which has layers written and mentioned in Italian, has led an expedition force of militaries across the continent to invade and eliminate the demon army. Honestly, the campaign failed, because if the campaign succeeded, we will not have an anime. And both sides of the Demon Lord and the Grand Chaos Empire have been deadlocked in their border since. It's revealed that the real reason that Sawyer was summoned is because they want to send him off to the Grand Chaos Empire, because they're out of money to contribute to the war effort. They also have problems such as a chronic shortage of food, and refugees fleeing for the Demon Lord's domain. And of course, Sawyer objects to this, just him being sent to the Grand Chaos Empire by saying, you will sell your own dolls to pay your debt. King Albert honestly does not know what will happen next if they send Sawyer over. Probably they assume that Sawyer has great powers of magic and strength, but Sawyer doesn't have it. He's just a normal person who is into civil servants, who wants to get a civil servant job, wants to have a family, and get married, have children. But he can't have that. Because he's just a normal person with knowledge and information on politics and economics. So he has to play a role as a hero in an isekai anime. A 500-year hero. And there's a policy in the anime's universe, that a hero is a person who will bring a revolution to a new age in Landia. He cannot escape his destiny, so Sawyer uses his skills as a civil servant or potential civil servant to get to the bottom of the situation. He proposed the following: let me review your country's finances, then I'll adopt reforms, basically create reforms in policy to increase financial strength, and thus we can rebuild the kingdom's strength in order to reject demands from the Grand Cross Empire. Because without economic sovereignty, you don't have political sovereignty. If you don't have political sovereignty, your country is worthless. It might as well be a vassal state, which the Elfian Kingdom is actually at close to being a vassal state of the Grand Chaos Empire. Now, while looking at the anime, it does not give you a total expedition dump. It gives it to you through graphics, short explanations. It explains it all in the introduction story, in the introduction episode, even during the eye catches. But immediately, he admits that Sawyer admits that he has no plan, so he makes a plan by having the Prime Minister and King Albert explain everything about the country. Basically, Sawyer asks for budget reports, give me data of agriculture, forestry, fisheries, economics, trade industry, land infrastructure, and transport. And then the Prime Minister, King Albert, and Sawyer spent 3 days and nights explaining, discussing. And I forgot, Marx is the Prime Minister. So Marx, Albert, and Sawyer spent 3 days and nights talking, explaining, exploring, formulating a plan how to rebuild the kingdom. And apparently Sawyer had so much knowledge, and he actually managed to develop a plan for these discussions. So much so that King Albert decided to abdicate the throne and live the remainder of their lives as civilians in the same castle they live, and he actually has his daughter Lisa Evelyn to be the queen/princess of the kingdom. The 3 dukedoms, the trio who had the kingdom's armed forces, one of the dukes is a dragon human. One of them lives in a lagoon city where the navy is. And there's actually another duke that is a lion. All of them were shot, but at the same time, they see it as a shrewd decision to rebuild the country. The daughter Lycia, actually head to the castle, and his father explained everything to her, and said that his decision was final, and Sawyer was more fit to be king than he is. Now, the daughter actually went to Sawyer's workspace, his office. He's doing paperwork, and he actually asked the princess, "Can you do basic math?" And honestly, she demonstrates basic math because he needs help balancing the kingdom's finances. And it's worth knowing that she actually is part of the military and graduated from the military academy of the kingdom. So it's really going to be, I think it's going to be really light on politics and on economics and philosophy, because this is isekai. You're supposed to be entertained, and this is already entertaining as a comedy. But here's the thing about Sawyer. He doesn't want to be king. He doesn't want to be king. And he wanted to do fiscal reforms as an advisor, but he got adopted the king. He got granted the kingdom, so he'll be playing a role as a king for a few years to prevent him from being sold off to the Grand Cross Empire. He just wants to deal with finances. He wants to delegate everything else to the people or the government. And he's always secured the aid money by selling some of the treasury to the Principality of Adania. And because the country needs to eat, and people cannot eat jewels nor money, and Lucia was pissed that the national treasuries were gone. But he revealed that not all of them are gone. Basically, the real national treasuries stay. Group C, which is basically magical weapons, while Group B are basically jewels, jewelry, valuable stuff. They got sold for a lot of money. And at the same time, we get from foreshadowing from the Warrior City, from the Warrior Duke, who is a woman, that on the surface, the kingdom is peaceful, but there will be turmoil arriving. And is the king capable? Is Sawyer capable? The episode ends with the princess suggesting, why not send the money that we sold to the military? And Sawyer, using a Yu-Gi-Oh reference, explained that that if we do so, we are merely stalling the inevitable by building the military and ignoring the refugee crisis and food shortage. And this will lead them vulnerable to an uprising by the people agitated by outside force. Basically, if you don't maintain the support of the people by dealing with domestic issues, you will have a weak country that is susceptible to an uprising and insurrection. People with empty bellies have no morals or patriotism, and I want to add, they want to survive and not die. And they'll do anything to survive based on the writings of the Prince, the book The Prince. Humans operate out of self-interest. Now, if you already know my opinion of this show, it has a really great introduction episode, and it's one of the few shows that does politics right. By wrapping around an entertaining isekai show with some of the settings and tropes. But again, it's not going to be really heavy on politics. It's just going to use politics as a way to drive the plot of the isekai show. But it's just going to be primarily an isekai comedy. The animation is not really that. It's not really bad. I think it's just a standard, and the soundtrack is just a standard for an isekai show. But the soundtrack does fit the scenes of the show, and it fits the setting of a fantasy show. But really, I'm going to definitely check this show out every Saturday. Really enjoyed the show, and I'm hoping it does get good because it is based on light novel and manga. And as you all know, that full adaptations of manga and light novels are very rare. So I'll be definitely going to be reading the manga and light novel to complete the story, if it is completed. So I personally hope you liked the video today. If you do, please give a like and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Leave a comment. Share all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. I hope you had a good day. Hope you had a great 4th of July. And seriously, try to engage in some escapism. Will you?